PAX Prime 2013. To take you back to PAX Prime 2013, I have to talk about the year 2013, which I still can't believe, but that was 13 years ago. Crazy. I can remember a lot from that year, but I also can't. Back in 2013, at that time in my life, I was redoing high school to get ready to go to the big city and do some college, essentially. I just didn't have good enough high school grades, so I had to redo them. So for 2013, I spent that time redoing my Math 11 and my English 12. The moment I got back from PAX 2012, I knew I was going to go to PAX again. When 2013 was in full swing, I was pretty much ready to get my PAX tickets and relive that experience again. And so with PAX tickets, especially back in those days, people had to really prep to get their tickets. It was a bigger deal because PAX tickets would sell out really quickly. I remember like day one, tickets would go up and they would sell out online, and then there was a scramble over the PAX forums about how to get tickets and whatnot. So it was a much bigger deal. PAX themselves, from my memory, didn't really reveal when they were going to release these tickets either. They would just kind of come up. I have a thought in my head. I think this is accurate. I know somebody has posted a sheet online on the Reddit to know the dates of when PAX tickets went up historically, but I remember, I think it was a Tuesday. I think it was almost always like a random Tuesday, and it was around 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. The tickets went up. Looking back at my photos, I was fortunate enough to actually see that for some reason, I actually took the photos of buying these tickets. So those tickets back then, like I said, they would sell out right away. So what the move was, is you would buy 4 sets of 4 tickets. So I bought like a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, and a Monday. And I bought 4 of them each. And that way I had everything I needed for myself to go to PAX, for whoever was going to come to PAX with me. And then also, if somebody else didn't have tickets, then you could make sure that they could have tickets. So you would go and help that person out with your tickets. This was just, it kind of seems greedy, but at the same time, like, I knew more than 4 people that were going to PAX. So the way I saw it was, whoever could get into the queue, buy everyone's tickets. And that way we're guaranteed to go. And that's how we did it. Now, for this particular year, I know we ended up with a lot of tickets, but we used the PAX forums site at the time to make sure that if there was anybody else that needed tickets and didn't have them, we would meet up with them on the Thursday and we would exchange the tickets. So before I go like all into my 2013 year and PAX Prime, few things I want to mention here. First off, I don't have a ton of photos or videos, as you'll see, for this. So a lot of this is going by memory and a lot of this is just storytelling. Sorry about that, but as I said in my 2012 video, as the years went on, I started to just experience PAX and I didn't really capture PAX. So it's kind of tough sometimes to be able to show you everything that I'm seeing, but I'll try my best. The other thing I want to mention is in my 2012 video, I did make a mistake that Borderlands 2 was releasing soon after. I think it was like a week after or so, the 2012 PAX Prime. And so we all got keys for Borderlands 2. I can't remember if it was at an event or if I think it was at a panel we went to, a Borderlands 2 panel, and then we got keys for it. So everybody got copies of Borderlands 2 early, which is like not a thing anymore for PAX, but that was very cool back then. You got a game that was going to release and you got it early. So that was a really cool thing. And I meant to mention it, but I forgot to write it in my notes, so it didn't come out in the video. So here it is now. In 2012, we got Borderlands 2 free. That was awesome. I misspoke a little bit on the days. In my 2012 video, unfortunately, I was talking about when I left early, and we left early on the Monday. I'm completely misremembering this, and I didn't realize it until after the fact that PAX Prime was only 3 days in 2012. So we were there for the Friday, we were there for the Saturday, and then when I was saying I wanted to leave early and then we left early on the Monday, it was actually the Sunday that we left early. So we went back home on the Sunday. So sorry about that. I totally forgot that PAX Prime in 2012 was actually only a 3-day event. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they announced at that PAX Prime that 2013 was going to be the first year where it was a 4-day event. I just want to mention here before I get into this video too much. Okay, back in the video. So this year was a little bit different. My girlfriend was going to come with me. She heard about PAX from the last time that I went, and her and I at this time were making YouTube videos with Minecraft. We were Minecraft YouTubers. It was small, but like at the time we thought it was decently big. I had gotten close to 1,000 subscribers, I think, at this point, and so I was getting really excited about my YouTube career, my Minecraft YouTube career. And she had joined in and had her own channel as well, and we were having a lot of fun with it. So we really thought that going to PAX this year was going to be kind of like a cool place to do sort of promotion, and like we had like business cards printed and stuff, and we were hoping to like maybe talk to some people, maybe meet some other creators, and just all that stuff that you want to do when you're in that state. It was an interesting time back then. I have lots to say about the YouTube stuff back in the day, but this is not the video for that. So I'll just leave it at that for now, but that was the mindset we were in going into this PAX. My friend from last year, the 2012, he was also going to come with us. So there was 2 of us that were going to go together. That's 3 of us that were going to go together. And then there was another regular from EB Games, another buddy of mine at the time. He was this awesome guy who would come in every Tuesday and just buy me an ice cap from Tim Hortons. It just started like that. And then one day he told me he had internet problems. And so I went to his house to go like fix his internet. And then this budding friendship happened after that. And it was very funny. Lots to say about him. He was a good guy. But again, I'll save that for another video. But anyways, so I convinced him to also come to PAX with us, which was great because he struck me as the type that didn't leave the house very often. So it was fun to see him in such a crazy environment of coming with us on this trip. So we decided to make this trip, I was gonna say cheaper, but not necessarily cheaper. I guess we just decided to do it differently than what I did in 2012. My girlfriend came up with the idea, she just got a car, so she was like, why don't we just drive down to Seattle from Vancouver, which makes total sense. So we decided, hey, we'll pile everybody into the car and we'll drive down to Seattle. So we made that drive. It's about 2 to 3 hours long. Whoa, it's a nice drive. From Vancouver down to Seattle, you're on the coast the whole time, so it's a beautiful scenic drive, and I'd never done it, or I guess I had. When you go from Canada into the United States from Vancouver, you go through an awesome border crossing. It's called the Peace Arch, and it's just really pretty. I don't know if many people know about it, but it's a nice border crossing as far as border crossings go. So I've always really liked it, and I remember going through it with them then. And yeah, we had like made a wrong turn and just a whole nother thing there too, but it's just really funny. But we drove down to Seattle from Vancouver, and that was the first time ever that I drove to PAX this way. So during this drive, my girlfriend at the time was into an album called Ocean Eyes by Owl City, and it's a popular album. It's known for the one song Fireflies by Owl City, which is a really popular song of theirs. And it was always playing on our demo unit on our PlayStation at EB Games. And so I knew the song really well. I think even Little Big Planet at the time, I think, had it for promotional stuff too. So it was talked about a lot. This song came up all the time. But regardless, we had this album on. And my girlfriend was telling me, hey, there's a song on there called Hello Seattle. So we timed it. And this sounds really funny or stupid. I don't know. This is just a thing. We timed it so that while we were driving across the bridge into Seattle, and you see the Space Needle, it's this certain view that happens when you're driving into Seattle, we played the song. So it's playing the Hello Seattle song as the Space Needle comes by. I remember this vividly because it was just like kind of a dumb joke at the time. But what it did do, and I wasn't expecting this, was it kind of like ingrained this thought of that album meaning PAX to me. All the feelings I had, all the excitement of getting to our hotel, getting ready for this big event that I knew was going to be so much fun, all of that just got like intertwined with all the music from this one album, Ocean Eyes. To this day, if I hear even one song from the entire album, it just brings me right back to the convention center, subway, video games, hotels, lineups, all that stuff. And it's just something weirdly special, and I've always really liked that. So I have a video I'm going to make about Owl City and Ocean Eyes later and talk more about that, but I just want to say this was the first trip where it happened. When you first get off the highway into Seattle, if you're used to driving in the city, it's probably not very complicated. It's probably quite simple. For us, we had to navigate to our hotel, and we didn't do a lot of city driving, like in a big city. So for us, there was kind of a bit of a frantic, oh my God, we need to find our hotel, and we don't know how to navigate these city streets and all that stuff. So I remember us going down a one-way street, which was for buses, I think, at the time. No, it was reserved for buses at the time. and we had turned onto it, and we knew we made a mistake immediately. We were behind a bus, and then behind us another bus like was there, and it started honking at us because we're like in this bus lane thing, and we were like, oh my god. And I remember my girlfriend just like straight up just left turn signal, just vroom, just like pulled us out of that down a different alleyway. We got to our hotel safe, everything was fine, found a parking spot, all that stuff. But I just remember when we first got to the city, it was frantic, and we were just It's good though. We got inside the hotel, dropped our bags. My girlfriend and I had a room. My other buddies stayed at Airbnbs, or like there was a boarding exchange thing with the PAX forum. So everybody else got sorted that way. We stayed at our hotel. I remember immediately being like, this is pretty fancy, because it had like, I was staying at my parents' house at the time. So this hotel had like a nice bed. It had a separate private washroom, and it had like a nice TV and a little kitchenette unit. This all sounds super normal for a hotel, but for me back then, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is everything. I could just stay in this hotel forever. Hadn't really lived on my own yet, so I didn't really know that feeling of independence that well, but this hotel was really nice. And I kept thinking, like, for PAX, this is a little ridiculous. I was used to like camping out on the floor. So after we dropped off our stuff, we went over to the convention center and did the pre-PAX ritual thing where we went up the escalators and then back down again. And then we went to the Sheraton for some drinks. I took like a photo of the Sheraton. It's always shocking if you get a photo. So that night, we met up with the friend that I had met the previous year, who was our Airbnb host. Awesome guy. I'd been talking with him all the way since the previous year. So we'd started this friendship then. And so he met with us up at GameWorks, and we all played arcade games and ate some food and drank some drinks, and it was really, really fun. There is a photo of this, and I can't find it anywhere. I searched everywhere I could through the archives, and it's missing. And I asked my wife, and I was like, do you have that photo? Like, you sent it to me at some point. She was like, I sent you that in like 2013. Like, so I don't know. There's a missing photo there, and I can see it in my head, but I can't find it. I really scoured, and I really can't find it. So unfortunately, there is a photo of this, but I don't know where it is. If I find it, I'll put it right here. We got back to the hotel that night, and I remember watching TV. I think it was like Gordon Ramsay or something. I don't really remember, but there was something, and I remember telling my girlfriend, I said, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this hotel room. I just want to watch this all night and just stay here forever. Anyways, the next day, the sun did come up, and we did go to PAX. So I remember we got up early. My girlfriend got us up like nice and early and got like prepared and all the stuff that you should do for PAX, but like I wasn't doing the previous years, but like she was like on it to make sure we were there in the lineup and we were ready. So we had some food, and we were, waiting and prepped and all that good stuff. So I was looking over the photos, and it turns out for this year at PAX that they did that same thing I was mentioning in the 2012 one, where everybody was in like a giant room, and they had those big doors that would open slowly and let the lanes in. So there might have been like blow up balls in this one too. I'm not really too sure. As I said multiple times here, I don't have a lot of photos of this trip. So this is just kind of me rambling as best I can, writing down notes and looking over them and trying to recall what I can. So just bear with me. I have to just kind of dump everything I can from my brain into you and visually represent this as best I can. The big thing for this year, 2013, for me at the time, was the new consoles that were just around the corner. The PlayStation 4 was something I was very highly anticipating. I had bought the PlayStation 4 controller, which EB Games was selling a few months before the console release. Don't remember why, but so I had that controller. I knew what that felt like. I was loving it. And I was just wanting to know what the new console was like, what the games were like. And at PAX, we got to play them early. So this was one of the PAXs where there was like a highly anticipated thing that I wanted to see and I wanted to play. That doesn't always happen. And for this year, I was really excited. So right away, first thing we did as soon as those doors opened is we booked it to the Sony booth. And the Sony booth was huge. This is the biggest Sony booth that I ever remember. It was taking up a giant amount of the hall. No idea how much, but it was, I just remember that carpet, that nice carpet, and it was so big. And the Xbox booth was right next to it, not as big. I think Sony was really trying their best to overshadow Xbox at PAX if they could. That being said, there was a whole Xbox thing going on there. I don't exactly remember what this was, but Microsoft and like Doritos and Mountain Dew all had this like giant thing going on with QR codes, and it was all around the convention center and all around Seattle. So I remember specifically like an Xbox tournament. I just remembered now. It was like a Halo tournament that was happening at a building that was like down by like Pike Place, somewhere down like way farther away from the convention. I just remember that now, that like we walked by and there was like a PAX event happening over there, and I was like, wait, what? And it was a tournament for Halo. Anyways, there was QR codes everywhere. People were scanning them. You would get all these points and stuff, and there was like 20 or so Xbox Ones that people were getting early. They were giving them out in this event, so people would get an Xbox One early. Everyone was scrambling around the convention center trying to get these points with this QR code system, and yeah, I vividly remember that, and I also remember Doritos and Mountain Dew were everywhere. Now, I loved Mountain Dew at the time. I was really obsessed with it, so I think it was Code Red, and I was really into that. My girlfriend was really into Doritos, so at all times we had Mountain Dew and Doritos in our hands. But if you went to any panels or anything this year, you saw somebody holding Doritos and holding Mountain Dew. Like, promotion was good there for those companies, because it was, every photo, I'm sure, you'll see somebody with Mountain Dew and someone with Doritos in it. So that's a way where I think Xbox actually did pretty well. They took over a lot of that convention. You'd see the Microsoft stuff everywhere for this. A couple things I remember, look at these photos. I remember Mugenics being there. It was talked about at this PAX. I don't exactly remember how or in what way. It was probably a booth, but I just remember it was there. And the reason why I bring it up is because Mugenics released in this year, 2026, 13 years later. That's crazy. So at PAX, it was talked about then. And like there was like a thing for it, like a little paper thing for it. And now it's releasing. I mean, I'm not shaming anybody for the release of it taking so long or anything like that. I just mean, it's funny how like, I look back on this photo, I was like, wait, that just released. That's crazy. I don't know the story of Mugenics all that well. I know it's the guy from Super Meat Boy. Speaking of Super Meat Boy, the movie, Indie Game the Movie, had released sort of recently, before this trip at PAX. And the other guy from Super Meat Boy, Tommy, I think his name was, he was there, and you could get like an autograph signing with him. So I remember I did, and it was just the most like relaxed, chill thing. He was such a nice guy. I got him to sign like a little thing for Meat Boy, and I talked to him about the movie. I just watched it like a couple nights before, so I talked to him about the movie and about PAX and all that, and yeah, he was just super down to earth, super chill, really nice guy. So looking at these photos sometimes is really funny. There's a moment here at PAX where I can't remember if it was the PAX 10 or just the indie mega booth in general, but remember back then the indie stuff was on the top floor, so you had to go all the way up to an upper floor to be able to play all these indie games. It wasn't where like the indie stuff is now at PAX, but regardless, there was Towerfall. It was shown there, and I think it was PAX 10, but yeah, so there was Matt Makes Games, and there was Towerfall, and I just remember we walked by, and there was like a couch, and then this game, and it just looked like old school gaming, and I was like, oh, what is this? And I saw people playing and shouting and twitching and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, what is this game? And we played Towerfall, and I'd never heard of Towerfall before. It was like an exclusive for the Ouya, and I was like, okay. So we played it, and it was so good. It was fantastic. For me at the time, this was one of the best party games I'd ever played, and it just clicked for me like right away. So this was the beginning of my love of Towerfall. Just absolutely smitten with this game. I still am today. I just barely have time to play these kinds of games. But if there's ever like a party game that I want to play with a bunch of friends, and I want something that's like quick and just fun and just Towerfall's usually in my list of what to suggest. I remember the 4 controllers. I remember all of us picking them up. We played a couple rounds, and then we'd get kicked off, and we'd have to go around PAX and do stuff. And then we'd come back and we'd play more rounds. Every day of PAX for this year, we go back and play more Towerfall because it was just so much fun. And that's really saying something. That doesn't happen to me often at PAX, where I'm replaying demo units, and this was just so good. While I was there, I got to meet Kevin and Jeff from Power Up Audio, who were there at the booth. Those guys, at the time, I had just learned they were from Vancouver, and I didn't actually know that I had ties to them from like a friend of a friend, essentially, and I didn't even know that. So they were just nice, and we were talking with them and having a good time. Yeah, Vancouver team, Power Up Audio. They also did the audio at the time for Summer Games Done Quick, so it was interesting just talking to them. They were all around really cool guys. Yeah, so this was the first time where I had learned about Towerfall, Matt Makes Games, and this just became like a really nice staple at the time for me. I got Towerfall right away after this, and I just loved it. Another big thing for 2013 is my girlfriend convinced me that we should cosplay for this PAX. And we did. We cosplayed at the time as Joel and Ellie, because Last of Us had just released. not too long before this. And so we hadn't even beaten the game yet of Last of Us. We were taking it pretty slowly, and I think we were in Boston at the time. So I remember she was like, oh, these would be cool characters to cosplay as, and we thought maybe we could pull it off. So we tried, and it was really fun. This is the only time ever at PAX that I've ever cosplayed, and it was a lot of fun. All those typical cosplay stories happened where, you kind of feel like the sense of people are watching you because it's cosplay, or people ask for your photo, or whatever. Sometimes you make someone's day, and that was all like really cool stuff that I just wasn't expecting, and it was a thrilling feeling, and it was really fun. I've always wanted to do another cosplay, but I've just never really had the courage to do it again. So hopefully one day I will, but as of right now, though, I haven't cosplayed again since this day. But we went to a panel, a Last of Us panel, where Neil Druckmann was obviously the host of the panel and talking about a bunch of stuff for Last of Us and the development of it. We got to the panel, we happened to be early, so we were like one of the first people into the room. And we were going to find our seats, and we sat down somewhere near the front. And Neil Druckmann was just kind of like talking to a friend at a table and looking down at all the people pouring in. And he saw us, and I saw him like hit his buddy on the shoulder, and he smiled and talked to his buddy and pointed at us. I remember that feeling of like, oh God, Neil Druckmann's pointing at us. And then he like took his phone out, and then he like asked us, he's like, can I take a photo of you guys? And we're like, of course. So he took a photo of us. He came down and took a photo of us, and it was this cool feeling. I remember at the time thinking like, oh my God, we're about to be famous. Anyways, I thought it was going to show up on his Twitter or something at that time. And I remember like refreshing his Twitter being like, am I on there? I was never on there. I'm sure he was just excited to see his creations, in physical form with cosplay. He'd probably seen so many Joel and Ellies that day. I don't know why I thought that we were like so. What I can say about that panel is they released this thing. It was like an outtake or a blooper from Last of Us, and it was a scene near the end of Joel and Ellie and another character, can't remember, and the actors like Troy Baker and such, they were kind of joking around in the motion cap booth, and they started singing and doing like opera, and like the characters like doing opera in the scene. It was funny, and Neil Druckmann was releasing this video for everyone to watch. And I remember like a week later after PAX, going out to Kotaku and seeing this video pop up being like revealed at PAX, this blooper reel. And I remember this odd sensation of being like, I was there, like I was in that room when he revealed that. It was a very odd thing, but that's what PAX does sometimes, depending on who you are, but I found that very interesting. I remember lots of VR talk at this PAX. VR was just starting to rise up, and the Oculus Rift was talked about quite a bit. So if you wanted to go and play VR games, you had that capability at this PAX, and there were massive, massive lineups to do so. I remember these lineups were capped like right away, and it'd be like your entire day of PAX would be in this lineup. So we decided not to do that. I was into VR, but not enough for that. So my girlfriend had this idea of, she had thought she saw VR stuff on the indie floor. So she was like, could we just do that? And I was like, sure, maybe. So we went up to that top floor for the indie stuff. And I remember looking around, and sure enough, there was like indie developers that were making games in VR that had the Oculus Rift. And their lineups would be so short, like a 4-person lineup. So we were like, oh, okay, cool. Let's try this out. So we played not like AAA titles for VR, but we played just random indie games, which was great for experiencing VR at the time because this is my first time with these headsets. I remember us playing this one game. Don't remember the name of it. I don't even know if it released. Don't even know who the developers were or anything. I just remember that you were playing as like an animal. I want to say like a griffin or something. And you were like running in a forest, and then you would like jump off a cliff and start flying. I remember that feeling of like looking to my left and looking to my right and like seeing the wings of this creature, and it was like like I was transformed. I was transported like right away, and it was such an intense feeling that I remember I was apparently doing this and like leaning quite a bit, and there was a feeling where I was flying, and suddenly I just felt my girlfriend's arms or hands just like pushing me back. And she said I was like about to fall right over, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I was totally like infatuated with VR. So I really liked it at that time. I did find footage of this. I can't believe it, but I found it. I was looking at PAX vlogs, and I saw this guy here. I'll put his YouTube channel in here. He had footage of this game. So yes, this exists. This is it here. So you get to see this. The major games at PAX this year, from what I can remember and what I see from looking at photos at least, are Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Titanfall, and then Super Mario 3D World. There was obviously the consoles and all that, but then these were like the titles that people were looking at. So I wasn't really excited about Watch Dogs or Titanfall. Can't tell you why exactly. They just didn't interest me all that much. But I was excited for Black Flag. Pirates and Assassin's Creed, to me, that's a marriage that I will always be happy about. It's kind of funny now looking back, as Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is coming out now, and here it is 13 years later where it was, you know, having its big promo stuff. I remember you could get a t-shirt of Black Flag if you pre-ordered the game on Amazon. So I pre-ordered that game on Amazon and got that t-shirt. Apparently, there was Don't Starve, Hotline Miami 2, Diablo 3, Hearthstone, and a League of Legends regional tournament that was like being held at the Paramount Theater this year. I don't have anything to say about these things because I don't remember this. I have zero memory of this. I maybe went to the Paramount Theater briefly, but I probably honestly just missed all this stuff, as that's not stuff I was really interested in. So as I said in my 2012 video, you know, there's just things that you will miss. You'll see stuff that you think is really cool, and then you'll come back and find out that there's other stuff that you were like, oh, whoops. I do remember Infamous Second Son was shown off this year, though. I remember that demo unit because big lineup spiraled into like a room, and then everybody sits in this room, and then they watch a guy play the game. That's what they used to do sometimes at PAX. And I remember that the demo unit was showing, is the character's name Desmond? How many Desmonds were main characters in games back then? Anyway, the main character to Infamous, the guy was playing as him, and he was at this like spot in Seattle in the game. And I remember him being like, this is the convention center. And it didn't look like the convention center, but he was like, this is the convention center right here in Seattle. He's like, it's a 1-to-1 scale of Seattle. And stuff. And I remember being like, whoa. And he like blew up a car in front of the convention center. And then I remember just thinking at the time, like, that's crazy. Like it's a whole Seattle city. I remember thinking how bizarre it was to see Seattle as a city in a game. And I remember thinking like, this is really cool. I can't wait to see how many more games do this. I can't think of another game that takes place in Seattle off the top of my head. So it's a cool idea though. I liked it because it's close to home for me. So I would like more games that kind of take place in the Pacific Northwest. I guess there's like Silent Hill. I guess that's a pretty good one. Octodad was a playable game this year. And I had never heard of Octodad. I didn't know what it was. I just saw Octodad and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. So I went and played the demo, and I was just like blown away. The developer was there, and he was such a nice guy, and we just like joked around and hit it off really quickly. And I wish I took a photo or something of this booth, or my girlfriend did or something, just because I was so excited. I got an Octodad plushie after talking to the guy. He gave me a plushie of Octodad, and I remember just being like blown away. I was just like, this game is amazing. I bought it like when I got home, or when it released, I guess, but I bought it like right away. Octodad Dadliest Catch. I can't even say that without laughing. Octodad Dadliest Catch. And I just thought it was great. And I'm happy to say that even though I rarely play that many games these days, my daughter plays with the plushie of Octodad, and she actually knows that it's called Octodad. So I'm proud of that. I think that's cool.
Octodad.
What? That's Octodad?
Yeah.
Cool. Somewhere on the Sunday of this PAX, my girlfriend and I were like handing out our business cards, and we had this thing. We would ask people like, hey, are you interested in Minecraft? Are you interested in YouTube? And we just like, oh, consider checking out our channel, you know, and give them a card. But we also like were trying to like stealthily guerrilla market our stuff. We'd like put a card up on like a little panel and like maybe someone will take it, and put another card over here. I had another friend. When I found out he was doing this, I told him to stop, but he was apparently taking our cards, and he was going to people's bags, and he was slipping it in their bag. So he'd like walk behind someone at PAX and drop it in their bag, and walk behind and toss it in their bag. So I don't think anything came from this. It's ridiculous. I don't condone this behavior, but I remember that specifically. Anyways, we were going around PAX, having a lot of fun doing that. My girlfriend was like, hey, I recognize that woman over there. And it was a YouTuber. And my girlfriend was like, I'm pretty sure that is the YouTuber I has Cupquake. And I was like, oh, interesting. I don't think I knew her at the time. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend knew her, and I just hadn't heard of her. Anyways, my girlfriend was like, yeah, I've seen her when I was looking at Minecraft videos, and she's like another one that does this, she makes this content. And she's almost at 1 million subs, so this is like a big video coming out for her soon. And I was like, oh, crazy. So we went over and talked to her. Turns out it was Cupquake, and she was talking to us, and then her husband came by, and I guess he does all the filming for her and whatnot. So then we all just got into like this conversation and started talking about like how my girlfriend and I make videos for YouTube and Minecraft, and they were saying that's exactly what they did and how they got their start. And it was this really nice thing. We just had a great conversation. We exchanged like information, and that was that. We talked for a little bit afterwards, not too much more. Like after PAX, like we exchanged emails and like talked over email a few more times. But it was just like a nice little moment, and honestly, it added this like jolt of excitement for us with YouTube and Minecraft. Yeah, she actually gave us a shout out in a video like a few weeks later, and it was very nice of her. We were just really appreciative of that moment back then. That was so big at the time. It just felt like everything was fitting into place. So it was a really nice moment. I really appreciated her for that. I've always had a lot of respect for her since meeting her in real life, and she was just so nice. Very nice, down-to-earth person.
That I really love, and I think that they need more spotlight on YouTube. So it's just me trying to push a little more traffic their way. This Gamer of the Week, though, I actually met at PAX. It was a girlfriend and boyfriend duo, so there's 2 channels. So I'm going to add an annotation to both of their channels, and it was really awesome meeting both of you guys.
On that Sunday, after PAX is coming to a close, I remember we went to a movie theater, the Regal Cinema, I think it's called, the one that was right next to PAX there, and we watched the movie Elysium. I thought it was exactly okay. Everyone with me wanted to leave on the Monday. They wanted to leave early on Monday and get back home. I remember that because I was like, oh yeah, I know how you feel. I didn't feel that way, but I knew how they felt because that's how I had felt the year before. It got overwhelming for everyone, and it got a little monotonous, I think, for everyone. So I remember specifically as we left the convention center, got in our car and started driving away from Seattle, I remember watching the convention center being like, I could have done another day. Like I would have been totally fine doing 4 days, but they did not want to, and that's fine. I wasn't gonna push it. I totally got it. So we went back home, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed that trip, and that's where I was like, okay, this is a yearly thing. I'm doing this all the time. So all in all, 2013 PAX Prime was a ton of fun. A lot of my friends were there this year, which made this even more exciting. Friends that like we didn't even drive down with, other ones that like we met up with down there. We made friends while we were there too. It was just good vibes all around. There was lots of great cosplay, lots of good random events and stuff that happened. And when we got home, my girlfriend and I both knew we were going to go back again in 2014. It was definitely a must-have, especially since we were moving to Vancouver. So it was going to be even easier for us to get to PAX. So very exciting times for us back then. PAX Prime 2013. That's a solid PAX. Now that I do all this and I talk about this, that's up there for some of the best PAX. That was a good year. There was a lot going on back then, and PAX just felt busy and alive, and wow. Okay, well, I gotta stop reliving memories here. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this and going back to 2013 with me. I'm gonna be making a 2014 video when there's 80 days until PAX West 2026. As of right now, there's 90 days until PAX West 2026. So it's about 3 months away, and I'm going crazy, as you can probably see. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.